Greetings and salutations everyone, I'm Eka. This is Of the Devil. In the last episode, we still haven't actually met our client. We've basically investigated the entire crime scene, but we haven't actually met the person who might be the Heartbreak Killer. And to be fair, we don't have it is kind of a bad situation. Caught red-handed, as in, was covered in the victim's blood. Although, it was also a gun, wasn't it? But anyway, repeat offenders may be good for business. But that kid's bad for my blood pressure. Oh yeah, the other thing that happened last time was we talked with Brat. Although, their name is actually Fran. Important text message, I take it. Just your typical teenage drama. So then, if you wouldn't mind filling me in on a few details. Okay, we're allowed to look at everything, so androids and cops? By the way, I couldn't help but notice your light on staff. It's 3 in the morning, we're expecting a parade. I thought there'd at least be a few androids around. Aren't many androids in any police station this week, not while Brass is renegotiating contracts. Contracts with Noble? Good guess. Hardly, they're the biggest. Hardly, they're the biggest robotics core there is. Could spend all night in Center City without leaving their office's shadow. Yes, we're very fortunate to have them headquartered here. Saves us some money on shipping at least. But these talks never last that long. I'm sure they'll be back to writing checks for Noble ads by the end of the month. Even with Noble pushing those warm androids? Warm, ugh. Might as well call them the adult line. Might see them in the bigger departments or out on patrol, but not around these offices. Warm or cold, there's no such thing as an android detective. Yeah. Yeah, really? Yet, do you really think that'll happen? We already use ads for patrolling, securing the scene, pacifying crowds. Doesn't seem like that big a stretch to me. You're joking, right? Android detectives? With all the pain we go through getting witnesses to talk to us? With your warm personality, I can't imagine. A cop knocks on your door, starts asking questions, you're gonna be put in a bad mood. An ad knocks on your door, calls you a degenerate criminal in a synthesized voice loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. You're gonna start posting that shit that'll get you put on a list. Well, we certainly don't want that. But flesh and blood witnesses are becoming less and less common in any way. Cameras, sensors, satellites. Oh, sorry, it's still him. We already got all our facts from machines. Give it a few more years, might make sense to let machines do the investigating too. The police union wouldn't let that happen. She needn't have specified, it's the only real union there is anyway. Or anymore. So how about the basics? What exactly has my client been charged with? Your client, Carlos Baker Flat, was arrested on the scene at 9:50 PM. Using his middle name already, they really do think he's a serial killer. The charge being the first-degree murder of his girlfriend, a Miss Diane Dawn. First degree, that's increasingly rare, to say the least. It's rare for us to get handed anything but crimes of passion around here. City's got damn near more cameras than people. So you've got to be really, really stupid to try and get away with murder. Well, Heartbreak's gotten away with it 6 times. So what's that make him? 5 times, and that makes him insane. I was gonna go with extraordinary. Let's split the difference and say he's extraordinarily insane. But nutjobs like that aren't renowned for their ability to think ahead. So what makes you think this was premeditated? How about the fact he stalked and killed 5 other women as a warm-up? A warm-up? 5 precious bullets, 5 previous bullets and 5 previous victims. None of them knew each other, lived near each other, worked in the same fields, or had to deal with those damn crows sitting out my window. I swear this is just the worst Monday for recordings. Weeks of digital autopsies crawling up and down their online profiles. Nothing. So this serial killer chose his victims at random? If they have nothing in common. Yeah, nothing in common at all. Other than that they all look like cousins. Well, that's unique, isn't it? The physical similarities are striking. All 5 prior victims were young women, with brown hair and eyes, about the same height, comparable weight. Well, those features aren't exactly uncommon, couldn't it be? A coincidence? If you really believe that, you should quit your job and start buying lotto tickets. HK's got himself a type. Anyone can see that. You're really gonna try and tell me you don't see the resemblance? A young woman, brown hair, brown eyes. Can't tell how she is from a portrait, but I can take the hint. Tell how tall. So you think what, exactly? That Carlos Flat wanted to kill his girlfriend so badly he went out and shot 5 other women first? Hey, if the shoe fits. That's a dangerous line of thinking. This man's guilty, let's figure out his motive. If the shoe fits. Then you should put the shoe on the... You don't know how the saying goes. What sunshine means is it's not uncommon for killers to displace their violence from people close to them onto outlets with fewer consequences. Drifters, loners, strangers, workers. He's probably building up the nerve for tonight by first practicing on other similar women. Or he's just so far gone he can't tell the difference anymore. It's not the worst theory in the world, but it doesn't fit. They want to claim that those previous victims were practice runs, dress rehearsals for tonight's main event. If that were the case, there'd be signs of hesitation, nerves. There'd have been mistakes. On top of which, guns are impersonal, execution shots even more so. There's no sadism or hatred or intimacy in a single bullet to the heart. Killing your girlfriend or lookalikes usually is, if nothing else, a lot less sterile. If you ask me. Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? And now I do what I wanted to look at earlier, which is look at all the new stuff that they added. Digital autopsy. A post-mortem examination of an individual's electronic footprint. The law enforcement process of locating, bypassing authentication on, and investigating all of the deceased individuals' online profiles, commonly used to seek out possible connections to suspects or other victims. The widely utilized practice has been scrutinized in the past by some privacy advocates, but many victims' families who lack the ability to find, let alone access, all of their deceased loved ones' accounts argue for its necessity. Here. Comparable processes are offered as a paid service by some legal or funerary groups to help the next of kin recover or delete sensitive personal data. At times, these services have been marketed as defense against data criminals attempting to steal the identities of the dead before their accounts are wiped by state processes. Users also frequently searched for grave robbing, how to stop stolen identity, how to delete dead profile. And that's everything there, so profiles. Flat. We don't know what you look like yet. Date of birth, July 8th. Height 189 centimeters. Weight 94 kilos. Blood type B negative. Charge first degree homicide. Criminal record. Civil disturbance twice, no charges. Registered at birth. Modifications. Industrial class 4. Known affiliates pending. Psych evaluation pending. And evidence on the victim. Stylish. The victim, Diane Dawn, was a 27-year-old agriculture genetics researcher for Peregrine Laboratories. Found shot through the heart in the bedroom of the apartment she shares with prime suspect Carlos Flat. No known connection with previous heart killer victims. We've only got 18 points though. I saw the time of death was 9 PM on the autopsy, but do you have a timeline for the rest of the night's events? Can't trust much of what comes out of his mouth. But we've managed, thanks to less biased sources. And we're pretty confident about what we've been able to piece together from their statements. So the interviewed witnesses sounds eerily similar to real police work. Ow! The suspect and his girlfriend were arguing loudly with one another starting around 8 PM. Something in your eye there, ma'am? Neighbors were very clear about that part. Couldn't wait to tell us about the happy couple's domestic problems. Everyone in the building knew they'd been fighting for weeks. As you probably gathered from what you saw in Arcs, there was a struggle. Furniture turned over, glass shattered. But things go quiet sometime before 9 PM. And then there's a gunshot. Scrubbers are still scrubbing, looking for audio from the area to get a timestamp. I'm just going to check even though I've got a pretty good idea. Net scrubbing. The process of macro scraping all unencrypted data in a given time and place. Refers to the process of scouring all available data posted on the net within a certain time frame and location range for evidence of a crime. An increasingly common technique for police departments, corporate investigators, and occasionally public relations firms. While the brute force work is performed by automated dependents, either digital or physical, experienced human supervisors must establish a strict search constraints in order to produce usable results. Interest in the practice spiked when Senator Bancroft positioned it as a key pillar of his party's law and order platform. But pollings indicated voters rarely held a strong opinion on the process, and the topic has since faded from political discourse. We heard from enough concerned citizens to be pretty damn sure about the time. Right, emergency services got a burst of calls from the block shortly after 9 PM. No one seemed to recognize the sound for what it was, but the silence that followed was pretty universally alarming. Officers arrived on the street at 9:08 PM, established a perimeter, entered through the open door at 9:10 PM, and then they find your client crouched over his dead girlfriend, his hand covered in her blood. Flat's coat, the coat the suspect was wearing when taken into custody. Taken by lab techs for additional analysis, but initial tests showed blood on the left sleeve matches that of the victim. At which point they moved to secure the scene and the suspect. It took about 8 minutes to get there, though you'd think that he'd run. Sorry, did you say his hand? Singular? Your client's modded. Cybernetic right arm. Oh! We can buy stuff at the store. Shame we don't have anything to actually do it with. I guess something for those. Mods. Body modifications is a term that may refer to cybernetic prosthetics, artificial implants, neural enhancements, or any combination of the above. While body modifications have been seen throughout history and across a wide range of cultures, the modern body modification movement is differentiated by a shift from intrinsic factors, expression of identity, expression or identity, to extrinsic motivators, job opportunities, technological benefits, improvements in physical or mental ability. Historically, mods have been classified based on which section of the user's spinal cord the interfacing occurs at. Thoracic, lumbar, or cervical. But this system does not account for mods which interact directly with the human brain. The increased prevalence of so-called above-the-neck modding in recent years has led to several corporations and medical organizations proposing their own use classification systems, but so far none have gained traction. Users also frequently searched for, can you return mods? Can you undo mod surgery? Best reviewed neuroimplants 2086. I think that you'd want to think carefully about whether you want the mod before you got it in, but that's just me. How modded are we talking about here? Registered with the HAL 85 habilis. Industrial grade looks like. Says he's spec for dexterous manipulation of up to class 4 kPa, which means a minimum grip strength of, well, basically, he could crush your neck without even gritting his teeth. And you think he decided that it would be easier to shoot someone? Considering a career change? No, it's not that, it's just... Your eye must be very sensitive for you to put the patch back on each time. And here I thought you just had a 14-year-old sense of fashion! Please don't antagonize the detectives! You're just making them work harder for us later. You think a cop would cover up her dominant eye because it was fashionable? I actually thought the same thing the first time we met. You what? But getting back on track, that arm of his has been in the shop for some time now. Oh. He can't work without it. Money got tight. The arguing? Yeah. When did he put his arm in for repairs? 8 days before HK's first victim was killed. Well, no chance they'll be willing to chalk that up to coincidence. The client was arrested on the scene after a preliminary scan found his fingerprints on the revolver. And no one else's. A revolver? What kind? The old kind. The real old kind. More specifically, the Calver M54, 6-chambered, 10mm. Suspect's prosthetic. A HAL Industries Habilis 2085 mechanical limb. Boasts an impressive combination of grip strength, dexterity, and low cost of maintenance. So, hang on. The rule of engineering. It can be fast, it can be quality, and it can be cheap, but you can't have all three. You have to sacrifice one. Maybe the sacrifice here is that it's low cost to maintain, but it's going to take forever to get it back up and running. The success of it and its sister products went a long way towards securing state contracts for HAL Industries. A Calver M54 6-chambered 10mm revolver. Bears fingerprinting matching Carlos Baker's Flat's left hand with 99.91% certainty. Rifling marks match the bullet, which pierced the victim with 99.97% certainty. Rifling marks match the bullets from previous heartbreak killings with 99.98 to 99.989% certainty. No matches to any other archived forensic data as far back as 2051. I'm beginning to wonder if Chapter 0 is going to be a guaranteed loss case, just to set the mood of the situation. But I'm still gonna give it a try, even though I don't... We're 20 minutes in! Are we really not going to actually meet our client until episode 4? But it'll be a failed case, but it'll also drag us into a long-term story for all our cases to be linked to. Because I'm legitimately running out of ways I can think of to handwave this all away, but then I'm also the sort of person that really doesn't try to figure out the case in advance. I just let the story do the storying and try to figure out what they want me to figure it out. Sometimes I get guesses in advance and I'm really cool, and sometimes those guesses are completely off the mark. Calva? How retro. A manufacturer of civilian firearms from 2031 to 2062 when it was bought out by Thortec, an acquisitions group specializing in security and national defense, now a subsidiary of the Lockcoon Defense Corporation. Though no guns have borne the Calva branding since production halted in 2060. The once iconic brand was briefly revived in 2071 Q2 with a series of video game memorabilia tie-in promotions meant to increase in-game item sales, before being discontinued in 2071 Q3 for failing to increase in-game item sales. Wow, it lasted one season, if not less. You don't know the half of it. We're talking steel chamber, real gunpowder, mechanical firing pin, and no tags. No tags? How is that? Just how old are we talking here? Yeah, 24/7 location data, timestamp trigger pulls, safety is coded down to owner biometrics. For the past 3 decades, tags made shooting crimes very unambiguous. So you're claiming my client used some kind of antique to commit these crimes? It would be like taking an Aztec dagger used for sacrificial rites and using that to chop someone up. How else do you think he'd have gotten away with this 5 other times? Touché. If he tried to buy a gun legit, it would probably fail the very first psych check. But even jailbroken pieces are only good for so long before update withdrawal sets in. So then, M54, that's model year 2054. A 30-year-old gun. Well, that sure complicates things, doesn't it? In some ways, sure. But pre-tagging firearms are rare. Got to be less than 1,000 of them left in the whole country, and few are still compatible bullets. The ammunition would have to be over 30 years old too. The novelty of his weapon has kept us in the dark so far, but now that we have our hands on it, it's going to put him away for good. Archives department complained loud as hell about how deep they had to dig, but with protocols they found, the techs were able to match the rifling marks on all 6 bullets to the gun your client was found with. Rifling marks. Bullets fired from guns that old are marked with the barrel's shape. So if all 6 bullets had the same rifling marks, we know they were all fired by the same gun. It's not as plug and play as tags are, but it's equally precise science, I assure you. I can't help but wonder if... I feel like the easiest way out of this problem is that just because his fingerprints are on the gun doesn't mean that someone else didn't use it for all other 6 shootings. That said, why he would pick up a gun would make him an idiot. But I don't know. We're gonna have to mull this one over. Or maybe just talk to the client. If that's not damning enough, the spent casings from the other 5 shootings were still in the chamber, without even needing to reload. The carver your client was found with is the gun HK used to kill 6 women. No way to lawyer around that. An untagged gun. Just being anywhere near a weapon like that could warrant your arrest. So whenever she goes into her own thoughts, her eyes black out completely, I notice. Being found by the police over a dead body with an untagged gun used at 5 other crime scenes is just... To summarize then, you believe my client fought verbally, then physically with his girlfriend. And then he retrieved this weapon and shot her. Yeah, pretty much. How did he look when the officers found him? Guilty. How was his effect? Quiet, detached, stiff. Not exactly the picture of a grieving partner. That reaction may have lost him points with cops, but beyond that, people react to loss in all kinds of unusual ways. And so long as the police are suspicious of you, there's no right way to grieve. We have 4 minutes left for the episode. Let's do this. Checking my phone here, and I have to say, you've done a pretty admirable job keeping the details of HK crimes a secret. Actually, you know what? I think I'll wrap up the episode here. Just to know that we've got... This actually will take a lot longer now that I've noticed the extra tidbit flying across this top of the screen. So, until next time guys, take care. I'll see you all around.